Oops.
Oops, that's not how you start a show. You don't say oops when you start a radio show. That's not how you do it. You start like this. You do like radio show voice. Welcome to the Professionals and Animal Lovers Show.
I was doing so good.
You were doing so good, and then you said oops. Oh my goodness. All right, so this is your boy Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, and my friend, my buddy, my pal, Val. What's up, Val?
What's going on?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited about today because I feel like, we've definitely had guests from kind of all over the country, California, Colorado, New York, obviously Pennsylvania, and a couple of times Florida, but this is a personal connection and I can't wait. We have on today, Dr. Jack Schmidt, my former veterinarian who I wish was still our veterinarian, but we don't live there anymore. So anyway, we will get to a proper introduction momentarily. Tommy?
Well, listen, Val, let me tell you some words. Let me say some words. We believe the bond between animal lovers is incredibly strong. So our call to action is let's support each other in business, rescue, and advocacy so that everyone wins.
Especially the animals.
On this particular show, Professionals and Animal Lovers Show, also known as P.A.Ls, we do three distinct behaviors here. We learn, we educate, and we advocate. And we bring on maybe a fourth, because we bring on really cool people to tell really cool stories, and we care about the animals. We learn about the animals. I want to just, if you're only listening right now and you're not watching us live on Facebook or live on or recorded of us being live on our YouTube channel, check us out, P.A.L Show, Professionals and Animal Lovers Show on YouTube, and like and subscribe, as my friend Hef would remind me to do. I noticed, Dr. Schmidt, that it says, Dr. Jack Schmidt, your pet's pediatrician. Now, that is not lost on me in any way. I think it's cute. I think it's funny. And I think it is a brand. So first of all, hello, sir. How are you? Tell us about that name. And then we have other stuff to say about you.
Oh, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you very much. I think being an animal advocate is the biggest part of being a veterinarian because the animal can't speak for itself. I wanted to be a veterinarian at a really young age. And as I developed in my career, I really realized that animals are our four-legged children. And I really was a pediatrician for those four-legged children. So that's where my your pet's pediatrician slogan came from.
I love that. I think that's so cool. I think branding is so important because it's catchy. I mean, I know a guy who calls himself the nonprofit sector connector. Well, that's me. And people like it, and people introduce me that way now, and it's kind of funny. But I mean, even my own name, Tommy D, that's become a brand. And isn't that what we have to do? Because we got to stand out from the crowd. There's a lot of people in all of our professions and all our businesses, and we got to stand out from the crowd, and we got to really, obviously the work speaks for itself to a certain point, but it's also good to make a commercial a bit, right? And tell people how great we are. It's okay. A friend of mine tells me when we're networking and doing business development, we really don't need to be too humble. We're allowed to wave our own flags and be excited about ourselves and the work we do. Now, I want to ask you, first I want to set the stage because I have some children in my life, real human children. Not that animal children, not real children. I got to be careful here, but human children in my life. And one of them is, forget about it, about dogs. I love your dog. I like your dog. I want to take a picture of your dog, the whole thing. Now, it's interesting. I don't know the future, but I expect that this young man, who's one of my sons, will be somehow involved with animal care. If he doesn't go into this as a profession, my expectation is that he will do this. He'll have a bunch of dogs, and
Right.
and he'll do it that way if he don't get paid to do it. But I mean, I'm going to read my notes because your bio says you started working at the St. Augustine Animal Clinic as a kennel manager as a teenager and always knew you wanted to be a veterinarian at a very young age. And now, all these years later, you are, and later on, bought the practice that you started working at. Is that right?
It is. It's almost a it's almost like out of a storybook, out of a Norman Rockwell painting type life. So I actually first worked at a veterinary hospital in Germany. My dad was in the military. We were stationed in Heidelberg, and they had a summer hire program for teenagers to keep the teenagers out of trouble. I was 14 at the time. Not too much trouble, but anyway. So I got a job at the base veterinary hospital, and it was really a neat overview of the veterinary profession because we treated dependence animals. We inspected food at the commissary. We treated the guard dogs. There was just a lot of other stuff besides just what we think of when we think about a veterinarian, as being the man or woman on the other side of the table treating, a pet. So there's a wide variety of things that veterinarians do. As a matter of fact, everything that goes on your table, there's a veterinarian somewhere involved in the background of the food that we eat and the things that we drink, to make sure that those things are healthy and safe for us.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah, I just that experience as a 14-year-old just created a love for wanting to be a veterinarian in my life that fortunately kept me driven and focused.
I love that. What's better than living your dream, Val? I mean, when you know what you want to do and you go do it.
Honestly, you are only the second person that I can recall in my life that who knew what they wanted to do and stuck to it. I remember a friend of mine named Carrie Ann, who now lives in Vegas, but we were in junior high school together. And I remember exactly where we were. We were sitting in art class. And I think it was a question for the room, right? I think I said I wanted to be a marine biologist. Anyway, she said she wanted to be a teacher and teach special needs children. And that is exactly, she never wavered, not once. So
Wow.
that's exactly what she's doing. And you're like the second, I think it takes a really special person to really know their calling at such a young age,
Yeah. Val, I don't know if you know this. So I did not want to sell employee benefits as a child. I don't know if that's what I am now. But do you know what I wanted to be when I grow up, which I intend on growing up someday, maybe? Do you know what it is?
A game show
A
host.
game show host. That's exactly right. And I'm on my way there because this show is kind of silly at times, and the other shows I do are kind of silly.
Yes.
But I'm sort of on my way, Dr. Schmidt, to living out my dream. So
This is my first experience meeting you, Tommy D, and I think that you have the personality for it. So
we're just getting warmed up, Dr. Schmidt. We're just getting warmed up.
well, when you get that game show, I want to be on it.
I would love to have you on it. I'll tell you something.
Right.
Maybe, all kidding aside, maybe it's something to do with the animals. Maybe there's a show there. I don't know if you remember. As I look at you both, I see we're contemporaries. But there was a show on Nickelodeon called Double Dare, which was a funny show with a guy called Mark Summers. Now, Val, you don't know the show?
I think I mentioned, I don't think I had Nickelodeon because that was like a premium cable.
It was a premium. Yeah, we were real bougie where I grew up. We had so much dough, we had extra cable channels. That's what it was. I think my dad worked extra hours so we could have cable, to be honest with you. But I just thought that was a funny show, and it's silly and a little bit zany. I like that word, zany.
Yeah.
And that's just fun because it's goofy, having that fun. So maybe there's a show that we should do with the animals and things like that.
We'll put it on the to-do list.
Put it on the to-do list.
All the other stuff that we're working on.
Yes.
But I want to actually, I have to get back to, I remember I had a cup of coffee with Jack, and one of the things that really kind of blew me away was, I think we were asking you, I was asking you something like, what was some of like your more memorable experiences or whatever as a vet, or more memorable patients, if you will, or something. And I remember I did not expect this. You showed me a picture of like an insect. Was it a praying mantis or?
It was a grasshopper.
It was a grasshopper.
What's the story?
Yeah, tell that story, because I was like,
the grasshopper story is a good one. One of my technicians' daughters had caught a pretty good sized grasshopper, and in playing with it, she broke off one of its back legs. And so she said, Mommy, take it to the doctor and get it fixed. And so we got through kind of our morning appointments, and out comes this aquarium with the grasshopper in it and the leg. And I reached in and picked the grasshopper up, and it was amazingly calm. Either that or was in grasshopper shock. I don't really know. But I looked at it and they actually have like a ball and socket joint like we do, but it's on the outside, their skeleton's on the outside. And there was a little like triangle shaped piece of the socket or the ball part. And it matched up with the leg. And I did a lot of models as a kid. So I took some tissue adhesive, tissue glue that you use to close wounds. And the grasshopper held still while I glued the leg back onto the spot.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
And afterwards, I put him back in the aquarium. And I had people come in and try and guess which leg was the one I had fixed.
So he got mobility back later on from that?
Well, I don't know how well he healed up, but he could use it. Like he could stand and walk around on it.
Wow.
I don't think it was totally usable, but I think it was something that he was able to put weight on.
Did you have those like glasses? Because I can't imagine. I mean, my eyes are getting older, and I can't. Like, did you have those like microscope glasses that doctors wear? How did you work on something so tiny?
Well, one, he was once again, he was pretty big, and two, I was younger. My eyes were better back then. But yes, I do have magnifiers.
I would think you would because some of the work you're doing, but I got to tell you a trick. So I have these two business partners, and I've been giving them a hard time for a long time because they wear reading glasses when we order off the menu, at restaurants. And they think that I think I'm pretty close to needing those glasses, but I just picked the special that the waiter or waitress says, because then I don't have to pretend like I can't see.
Yeah, I'll always have the special.
A little trick, Val. I'll teach you some tricks. That's an incredible, incredible story. And how special that little girl felt when she comes to you and you're able to make that happen.
Absolutely. Well, the other funny part of that story was apparently she took the grasshopper to show and tell. Because about 2 years later, I was taking a class at a community college, and one of the guest speakers we had turned out to be the superintendent of schools. And I'm nerdy, so I go up and ask him questions after the class. And after we get done talking, he starts asking me questions about myself. And it comes up that I'm a veterinarian. He goes, "Are you the one that fixed the grasshopper?"
Oh my God,
So
what a reputation.
apparently it went all the way through the school system, all the way up to the superintendent's office.
Yeah.
Sir, I think you need to carry more business cards around. Sorry, there's a lot of prospects in that school building. You've been handing out cards all day.
So let me ask you, I never asked you this question because primarily we were taking Jovi, our dog, to you. But what other, so your dogs, cats, and grasshoppers, or what other animals do you feed?
Well, at one point I did everything. I did backyard horses, I did goats, I did a petting zoo, I took care of reptiles. I dated a girl whose dad was really crazy into venomous snakes, and I always follow that up with she was really, really pretty. That's why I helped her dad with the venomous snakes.
What kind of snakes though? I gotta hear, because the snake thing, I gotta be honest, freaks me out. And it was so strange. Yesterday was a Super Bowl and I was watching a game, and when they kept showing pictures of Arizona, and I have a friend who lives out in Sedona, and I was just thinking, he's from Long Island. What's it like to all of a sudden be living in that environment? You might be walking down a trail and all of a sudden there's a snake in the road. That. I'm not big on the snakes. Did that scare you? I'd be freaking out. Where's the anti-venom? Bring the anti-venom. Make sure we got enough of it just in case.
Yeah, working on snakes is a little strange. I don't do it anymore. For one thing, even the non-venomous snakes can really hide their diseases really well. And husbandry is the biggest part of taking care of snakes. But this particular guy had he had cobras, he had these African pit vipers, he had stuff that they don't make anti-venom for. So I go back to the beginning. She was really, really pretty.
Oh man.
Lived with her father at the time? Was she in the same households?
Oh yeah. I mean, he had taken his whole entire garage and turned it into a herpetarium. It was loaded ceiling to floor. He knew what he was doing. I mean, he had a license.
Obviously, if he was still alive, right? But that is kind of scary to me too, because also snakes are kind of known for getting out. I guess that's more so with the larger, one, the boas or whatever, but I'll tell you, Tommy, I'll tell you what it's like. I have seen, when I was in Long Island, I think growing up, I saw a couple of garter snakes and knew they were harmless. Okay.
Yeah.
Fast forward to a few years ago when Barry and I moved to Florida. And one of the first things we did was put in a pool, which was great during COVID, I must say. But I distinctly remember this one day. So there's actually a page in Florida that a lot of people are members of. It's called "What Kind of Snake Is This in Florida?"
God.
And I'm sitting on the Adirondack chair, and all of a sudden I see a black snake that everyone will tell you is probably harmless. They call them racers, but I didn't know what it was. And this black snake comes out from underneath the plastic thing that you store your cushions in, like your patio cushion. It's a bench.
Wow.
Comes slithering out, crosses me 3 feet in front of me. And I did my best to be invisible. I was like,
Is that what you're supposed to do? Is that the move?
You make pretend you're invisible, because I thought about it. I'm like, I have no recourse. I'm in an Adirondack. It's not a swivel chair, right? I will have no time. If this thing looked at me, I am convinced I would have either had a heart attack and died, or I would have thrown myself backwards through the glass sliding doors and cracked my head open on the top. That is what it's like for me.
Just to give everybody context, she don't live there no more.
No, I don't.
She don't live there no more. That's just what I'm going to say. I'm not saying anything. I'm not inferring anything. I'm just telling you, the house went up the next day on the market. I don't know. What
there
was
a guy that lived down the block who was famous. Like, people called him if they spotted a poisonous snake, and he would come and get it and like rehome it somewhere. I don't know. The guy was unbelievable.
Was it what you thought? Was it a racer or whatever you called it, or you don't know?
No one else ever saw it. It decided to leave our property, and because of that, I was like, all right, we're friends. But on my block, literally next door, people had spotted a water moccasin. People had spotted a cottonmouth. It's not that unusual. It's really not. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But anyway, let's go back to the other house.
We weren't going to talk about snakes, but since we're on one other quick question, and for you and the doctor, Val, since you're obviously, you know a lot about reptiles apparently, because you have a Komodo dragon. She has a Komodo dragon at home. So, is it a bearded dragon? No, it's a bearded dragon. I always get it. But speaking of which, Dr. Schmidt has a leopard gecko at home, which I think is like a baby Komodo dragon. So let me, and gang, if you don't get the joke, Google Komodo dragon. It ain't something you want to keep at your house, okay? No. So I want to understand this snakes thing. Like, is that, knock wood, where I live here on Long Island, we don't see a whole lot of snakes. So is it because of water, because you're surrounded by water in these communities, Val, in Florida? And Dr. Schmidt, tell me about that, because like I don't want snakes near me, to be honest.
It's their climate. I mean, if you think of Arizona's not known for water, but it's known for heat. That's their climate.
Right.
It's the tropical climate. The warmth, the humidity, or whatever. They don't like the cold. Reptiles' metabolism slow way down in cold weather. So, I mean, even around here, like when we get coolish weather, at night, the snakes will come out and they'll lay on the asphalt or on the sidewalk where it's still warm. They're looking for warm places to go hang out.
So I don't know if I told you this, Val, when I didn't even remember this story till just now. When my wife was growing up, her brother had a snake, and the snake got out and ended up in the crawl space, like up in there between their bedrooms. It was like just missing for days, and eventually they found it in the crawl space. Could you freaking imagine that the thing is just traveling through your house, like, and you don't even know it's there?
So anyway,
let's take it away.
So, Jack, please, let's get into, I know you wanted to mention the importance of the wellness visits, or I forgot what do you call annual health checkup?
Yeah, just, your regular health care for your pets. Once again, even dogs and cats can hide diseases really well. Especially cats. Their cats are more like a wild animal, and in some ways, and if they look sick or diseased, they become prey. They're the first ones that the predators go after. So, our domestic pets, even the ones that are inside all the time, a lot of times can have diseases and problems that they're just not showing any signs or symptoms of. And then the other thing is people forget that 6 months of our time is like years going by for that dog or cat.
Yeah.
Their body ages faster, its metabolism is different. And so, a lot of times I'll have people say, well, Dr. Schmidt, Dr. Jack, they call me Dr. Jack. Dr. Jack, you just ran blood work on Spooky 6 months ago. And I'm like, well, that's true, but that would be like you having had blood work 3 years ago.
That's a big, wow, that's incredible to think about that. That's drastic.
Yeah, people don't think about it like that.
Years, like 6 years. It's like, that's a long time. Yeah.
So even a couple of months, sometimes I'll be treating a patient and we'll want to follow up with some blood work on kidney values or liver values. And even a couple of months has been a substantial time biologically for that dog or cat. So getting healthcare visits twice a year, I think, is a good idea, because that is like several years in between us going and getting a physical.
Do you find that most people do that already, doctor? Like, is that something you really have to educate people and they're more reactive? Like, I mean, speaking as a man, I know if I feel pain in my chest, I go to the emergency department.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, I pretty much like walk it off kind of deal. Like, I wonder if pet parents are more inclined to make sure they bring Spooky or Muffy to a regular appointment. I don't know where I came up with the Muffy name. I don't know.
Well, I think it once again comes back to being the pet's advocate, educating people. Not trying to sell. I'm not trying to sell them on you have to come in every 6 months. I'm trying to educate them on why it's important and what the value of that is. And I think once they appreciate what the value of that is, then they understand that getting baseline blood work to head problems off becomes important. Even for my own dog, who's now 14, 2 or 3 years ago, having done regular blood work on him for a while, we started to see his kidney values creep up. So by changing his diet, making sure he's drinking more water, making sure there's more moisture in his food, we've been able to kind of keep his kidney values from going up as quickly. If I hadn't have known that, his kidneys would have failed a long time ago.
So you get to
intervene. It's important to watch what's going on.
I was just going to say, doctor, and then Val jump in, but I guess you get to intervene and actually make an impact versus going, oh man, we didn't pay attention to this issue. Now we're in this dire situation. It's triage. And now we're trying to do whatever we can, or unfortunately, maybe it's too late, but we can be aware of what's going on and what changes we need to make. You mentioned diet. I'm sure we'll get into that, but Val, I think you had something there.
Well, I just think that it makes so much sense. Like, I mean, this is the number one recommendation for us humans, that we go in for a wellness check because, let's say like the mammogram, right? For women, like obviously it's better to catch it early versus to have things growing inside of you that are harmful. So you increase your rate of success when you have to, hopefully beat something, like a breast cancer or any kind of cancer for that matter. But having a baseline makes so much sense. And I never really thought of it that way. Like, you think a year goes by like that, you know what I mean?
Right.
So like, I never really thought of it like, to calendarize, let's say every 6 months to bring in your dog, bring in your cat, because it is really 3 years in their lives. I mean, I know this, if we're 10 minutes late with feeding our dog, it's like he is going to like write a negative review on Yelp. He's going to call for the manager. Wow. He is not happy, and he lets you know it. He's like, it's 5:30. Come on, you know what I mean? So like to him, an extra 10 minutes is waiting over an hour for his dinner.
Absolutely.
I guess it's all relative. I want to just shout out the website, Dr. Schmidt. It's STAUG animal.com for St. Augustine animal.com, right? So the name of it's St. come on, Tommy. St. Augustine Animal Clinic, but it's STAUG animal.com. So check that out. What have you found, in your experience, doctor, when you meet with here's what I always wonder. I expect that many veterinarians see dogs and cats, and my joke aside, some reptiles and things like that, definitely don't see the Komodo dragons. If anybody calls you and wants to bring one in, I would say no.
Yeah.
But what would you want to point out? What is the unique or silly or outrageous or exotic animal that you have seen and that maybe our guests wouldn't realize makes a good pet?
Wow, that's a good question. Ferrets do tend to make pretty good pets.
I thought of ferrets. Go ahead. Sorry.
Is that what you thought of?
Ferrets popped into my head because
I wanted him to say chipmunk because I really want to have a chipmunk, but he didn't say that yet, so maybe he will.
Rabbits actually make really good pets too, and they can be litter box trained. And so I tend to look for animals that have personality. Yeah. Although our leopard gecko, I have to admit, has some pretty good personality.
Yeah.
And he's not a Komodo dragon, so I don't have to worry about him biting me.
I have to Google that. Everybody, you should be Googling leopard gecko right now. If you're not, oh my God.
Look who's here.
Is there
Someone wants
who's here?
to say hello.
Is it Elliot?
Hello.
Dragon?
Not yet.
No, can we get Elliot tonight? That would be fun.
Your former patient. Yay.
Oh, that's half. Half the beard looks good. Half. Wow, look at that beard.
Dr. Jack.
The goatee. That's nice. Dr. Jack, that's the half.
Jovi says hello. Hi, everybody.
Barry.
You look good, man.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks.
Hi, Dr. Jack. I miss you.
Oh, I miss you too.
What's up, Jovi? How you doing? How you feeling, kid?
You want the Komodo dragon?
Sure. Bring
We would like to bring, no, not just bring Elliot. Don't bring the Komodo dragon, please. I worry about my friends on the show. Stop bringing those. That we're gonna bring next, an alligator.
I want to also take this opportunity to mention one of the things that we love about Dr. Jack is that he is what Barry calls conservative, which means that he's going to try to figure out ways to help, like if there's an ailment or an injury or whatever, without breaking your bank, basically, like not rushing for surgery and all of that. So we had Jovi had twisted and had a little tear in one of his ACLs.
Oh, wow.
Which of course I see my dog limping.
Oh my God, look, it's Elliot.
Here's Elliot.
Have you ever met Elliot, Dr. Jack?
I've never met Elliot. No, I didn't know about the
his voice.
I'm just letting you know, if I get him too close to the camera, he might flip.
How does he talk again?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
He sounds like E.T.
You interrupted my nap tonight.
That's a good impression. I love that. He's cool.
He's so cool. I
He's much bigger than my leopard gecko, that's for sure.
He's super cool.
I looked up
his
your
coloring.
He's
So
like 13 inches. 14
Yeah.
inches.
This is great. Barry, this is great that you're here tonight. It's sort of like when, on one of those night shows, they have the guy from the zoologist brings the animals. What are you going to bring us next, Barry?
We're bringing Muffy over.
oh God. So anyway, Dr. Jack has this cold laser, and this was one of the things that he showed me also prior to Jovi's injury, but he showed me the amazing recovery before, during, and after pictures of cold laser treatments.
That's awesome.
And
He's a boy.
he did that. Oh,
He's a boy.
thank you. So shows
Well,
up.
get him his own show.
I wonder what the people from the radio are thinking.
Italian.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is very silly. That's right. If you're only listening to the podcast, I don't know what to tell you. Check it out on Facebook.
Yeah. So anyway, it worked was the point. I mean, we also had Jovi go into the pool and do like little aqua therapy and stuff like that. But instead of just jumping into like a major surgery, and at the time Jovi was probably like 9 or 10 years old already, we decided, let's try the cold laser, see how it heals. Jack, can you speak to that cold treatment? Like what does the cold laser actually do? It's amazing.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, getting back to your other question, I may be conservative, but I treat your pet like my pet.
Yeah.
And so, if I thought surgery was the way to go, I would have said, we need to go to surgery. We need to see an orthopedist or something like that.
Mhm.
But, in in the case of something like a torn ACL, where it's not crucial that we get to surgery right away, using the laser and some other therapies is reasonable as long as we're not getting muscle atrophy. So what the laser does is, one, we've all had the experience of like stubbing a toe, and then it seems like you just seem to repeatedly hurt that thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's because there's a thing that's called wind up. So when you have an injury, the nerves are primed to fire. So anything that hits or bangs that injured area of your body, the nerves are already set up to send that pain signal. So that's called wind up. So one thing that the cold laser does is it reduces the wind up of the nerves. It normalizes the cell membrane so that they are not so easily set off. The other thing that it does is it promotes what we call neovascularization. That's a fancy word for new blood vessels growing into the area. So it brings new blood vessels in, because when you have an injury, the body's got to bring supplies to fix that problem. And the only way to bring nutrients and collagen and fibrin and stuff like that in is you need to bring it in with the blood supply. It reduces scar tissue formation. It actually goes into the cellular mitochondria. We might remember that from our high school biology. The mitochondria are the energy producing units of the cell, and they help the cell produce proteins. So damaged cells that aren't dead yet, it helps them to recover faster. So
I
those are some.
I did not remember that from biology class, but I do, now that you're saying it, I think I remember you saying this. This is what you said to us before we did the laser treatments.
It's like the powerhouse, isn't it? It's like the manufacturing plant for the cells, right? The mitochondria.
That's it.
Yeah. I want to ask you something because, here's the thing. This is like very personal to me right now, because just about a year ago, I was trying to get some kids off to school, and there was like lacrosse sticks and baseball bats, and I broke my toe, my big toe. And I tell you this because it's almost a year ago, and it's not right. It's my big toe on my left foot. It's not right to this day. And I'm always like very, like, when my kids are bouncing around by that foot, I'm like, whoa, watch my toe, and it's funny what you said, that term wind up. Not only is like maybe the nerves are wound up, but I'm pretty wound up about it. I like want to stay away, but I want to get some treatment on this laser thing. So, what is it actually, what's it called? How do I go about and finding out about this?
So a lot of chiropractors will have it. You can probably talk a little bit to Barry.
Yep.
Yeah, he had it.
About
He
it.
had cold laser. Yeah.
Oh, he had it done, or he had it in his office?
He used to have it in his office.
No kidding. All right.
But what really blew me away too was like the pictures. I mean, I don't know if they're on your website or not, Jack, but you had like before and after pictures of, I think it was a compound fracture. It was something rather gory, which for some reason I can handle these pictures, but I can't watch like The Walking Dead. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is that it was a progression of improvement. I mean, it's not an overnight situation, unfortunately, but I couldn't believe the last picture, which was after, all the treatments. And I was like, it's totally healed. It was unbelievable.
There was a dog that had gotten his leg stuck underneath a tire, and it had ground off part of the outside part of what would be the ankle and the toe all the way down to the bone. I could see all the way into the joint. And we didn't do surgery on it for 2 to 3 months. We did bandage changes and laser treatments, and the tissue grew back. And I only had to cover a spot about the size of a quarter. That was all that I had to do surgery on to pull it together. Now, like Valerie said, it took months of laser therapy, but it was a wound that in the past I would have thought we would have had to amputate the leg.
Wow.
What a life-changing thing. I was thinking about something that you said too, if you think in terms of like, you said when Jovi tore the ACL, and I think about like human beings, like if you're, how people sometimes deal with a hip problem for years, like years, like literally like, I got to get this hip done. Like I've been waiting to get this hip done. Like if you're an animal, you can't like wait to get a hip because you have a desk job and it's no big deal. like you're running around, you're walking around. You can't really, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you got a bum hip and you're a Chihuahua, you know, it's kind of sucking for you. Like it ain't so great for you right there. So I think it's probably where as a human, maybe we can get away without the intervention, if you will. But as an animal, we really got to do something to address these things, right?
Absolutely. And doing laser therapy on any type of arthritic joint, really, like you can generally, I can see the improvement within about 3 treatments.
Wow.
Now they have to come in like a couple of times a week at first, but eventually they'll get to the point where my own dog tore his ACL. And after about 6 weeks of therapy, he walks around pretty good. He's got some bad days, but even with surgery, you're going to have issues at times. I tell people Tom Brady probably had the best knee surgeon in the world, and he needed to have surgery 3 times to get that thing fixed.
Yeah, and he's a guy too, he's all about the alternative with the flexibility and the pliability and all that stuff. Otherwise, the man's not playing football till he's 46 years old. I know he's retired, but my expectation, I'm a big Tom Brady fan. All my New York friends are going to get mad at me, but I expect the GOAT will be back. That's just a prediction. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, cool. I was thinking this. I'm like, I don't know if he's really retired.
And it's relevant to the show because he's called the GOAT, and goats are animals. And the show's not animals, so I can get away with bringing in extra stuff.
Yes, I agree with that.
I got to get this foot done. Yeah, I got to get this toe taken care of, Dr. Schmidt. I don't think you can help me, but we'll find somebody who can.
Well, if you were in St. Augustine, maybe, but
maybe I got to drive down.
Dr. Jack, I have a question about. I'm always interested in, for example, Tommy mentioned one of his children earlier, and I'm on like this huge mission to engage and empower young people. Because of course, I believe that the more exposure, kids love animals. I think it's a rather natural thing, but the more that they learn and understand and find out about all these different pet professions that are out there, the more exciting it can be for them. What would your advice be to someone who's thinking about becoming a veterinarian? Maybe they're in high school, or maybe they're in junior high school and they feel like they want to do it. What would your advice be? It could be something like I wouldn't do this way, or I would love to have done this differently. You know what I mean? Like, give your best advice.
Well, I can tell you one thing that I do is, with parents' permission, anybody that's interested, I let them come shadow me and come hang out and see what it's like. Because behind the scenes, you get a chance to see some of the things that you don't always get a chance to see in the exam room. Are you going to like it? How do you feel about making up a stool sample and looking at it underneath the microscope, or, dealing with cleaning out an infection that might have some, really nasty stuff, pus and things like that. But, I will let, elementary school kids all the way through high school kids come shadow us for a day. So getting experience like that's good. Volunteering at the Humane Society or rescue shelters, those are always good things. And for high school students, especially where they need, volunteer hours for Bright Futures and things like that, volunteering at a rescue group's a great way to get some experience.
I have this idea. Maybe you can help me. We'll do a national campaign. I think that kids should be eligible to get extra credits for if they're doing things like TNR or volunteering at shelters. I think they should. I guess it sounds like there's a volunteer program that you get credits for wherever they're volunteering, but like if they could get extra credit for getting out there and helping, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that would be a monumental difference maker.
Well, here in St. Augustine, one of the newest high schools actually has a veterinary academy. So one of the cool things that about high school now, than as opposed to when we were in high school, is here, at least here in St. Johns County, they've got like academies for business, banking. Wow. If you want to be a pilot, if you want to go into the Air Force.
At the high school level, doctor, that's what you're referring to?
Yes, at the high school level. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That is amazing.
my
Oh,
son-
that's
my
amazing.
son's in the medical academy and he goes to Flagler in the afternoons. He wants to be a heart surgeon and he got a chance to see cardiac catheterizations,
Wow.
valve replacement surgeries. He got to
Real head start. It's a great way to, like, if someone's interested early on, right? Because unfortunately, there are a lot of people who maybe they think they know what they want to do, and then they're taking 4 years of school or more. Like, I know someone who became an architect and hated it, and then
right.
he bought a restaurant and did all the cooking.
Yeah.
You know,
It might make sense more to be yeah, I guess the word is like apprenticeship. I'm thinking of like where you go, you do the thing for a while, like not actually, like just say, for instance, in Dr. Schmidt's practice, maybe somebody can do an internship and then realize, yeah, this is it. I dig this. I'm going to go to college. Or, wow, I had no idea I wasn't going to like all these different aspects of this particular profession. That's something to do that. I want to ask you from a career perspective, Dr. Schmidt, because you said that there's also even what you were doing on the military base was it Heidelberg in Germany?
Yes.
Yeah.
Heidelberg.
When you were there, it was like you were doing different things. So maybe I want to be in the veterinary practice, but maybe I want to do what you do, like what you're actually doing as somebody who's right on the front lines. But then there's all these other things. So can you talk about that from the perspective of, first, education? Like, what did you have to do? Did you go, is it basically like the same as medical school except for animals, and probably more complicated because doctors deal with one species and doctors of veterinary deal with multiple species, right? So talk about
can talk, right? And that species can talk. Like,
I mean, it depends on who you're dealing with. I mean, they can all speak, but can we communicate is a different story, right?
Yeah.
Yes, humans for the most part can speak. But yeah, so talk to us about like what is a career, what does the education look like, and then what am I like? I get there and I'm like, wow, I could do all these different things.
Sure. So I did basically 3 years of undergraduate. I basically had a bachelor's degree, but when I applied for vet school. Nowadays, the requirements to get into veterinary school, probably it's almost mandatory that you have at least 4 years of undergraduate and a bachelor's degree before you can get in. And then it's 4 years of veterinary school. Now, the other thing is there are lots of medical schools. There are only 38 veterinary schools in the country. And up in those 38 veterinary schools, most of them have class sizes of under 100. So there's a tremendous competition for those slots. So being the best of the best as far as your grades and your academics really does start in high school. I was an okay student until I really got serious about wanting to be a veterinarian. And one of my guidance counselors said, you don't have the grades that you're going to need. Well, that upped my game right there. And so I really worked extremely hard. So the competition's really heavy. Nowadays, people want experience. They want people to have done the things that I mentioned, work at a humane society, work at a veterinary clinic. I have a young lady who comes back summers and Christmases. She's going to Ohio State, wants to go to the vet school in Ohio State. When you're talking about the different species, we did 7 different species for anatomy in my first year. And at Texas A&M, it was kind of interesting. The medical school was on one side of the highway. We were on the other side of the highway, and we shared a common library. And we used to call the medical school students veterinary specialists because all they worked on was primates. They worked on one species, and we had done 7, and they hadn't even finished their first year of anatomy, and we had already been through seven different species.
Wow. How many species is it when you finish?
Shoot, I don't even remember.
Dozens and dozens, or like, I mean, that's crazy. That's so wild.
I mean, you do reach a point where, like, if you want to go into zoo medicine, there's internship, residency, and stuff like that. I mean, when you get out of the 4 years of veterinary school, you're a good general practitioner. You can do horses, goats, cattle, dogs, cats, some reptiles, some birds, things like that. But you're not going to go treat a seal or a dolphin or, you
Okay.
know,
Right.
something like that. You're not going to go work at SeaWorld.
Yeah.
You got to do.
We're not big fans of SeaWorld here on the show. I mean, I'm only at this advocacy thing a little while, but I know we don't dig SeaWorld. Sorry, SeaWorld. Sorry.
No, but,
Those
no, but right.
whales are supposed to be out in nature. Those seals and dolphins are supposed to be out in nature, right, Val?
Yeah, so when you graduate vet school, you're not going to jump in and treat a polar bear.
Right.
But I
Good point.
definitely have this one little story I just have to mention because my dad was like the biggest animal lover, and he was constantly kind of like submerging me into these scenarios. I was volunteering at like a museum when I was in 3rd grade. They had a few animals, you know, they had guinea pigs, and they had rats and mice, turtles, they had an iguana. Anyway, but the story is around that age, I remember vividly where I was living. So that means I was in like 4th grade, however old you are in that grade. And there was a cooperative farm that relied on the general public to come and feed the farm animals. So we would go there often, maybe once a month or something like that. And all of a sudden one day there was chickens running around all over the place. And there was a limping chicken. And my dad was like, oh no, you know, this chicken is hurt and we have to help it. I'm like, what are we talking about right now? Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to help this chicken? Right. So my dad, next thing I know, he's like 6'1". He's underneath the bush. He's in the bush where the chicken ran for cover. The whole bush is vibrating like there was an earthquake. I'm sitting in the car because he was like, get ready to go. I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, oh my God. Everyone else that's there with their kids, they're like, what is this guy doing? And he comes out all triumphant with this chicken, puts it in my lap. Now I'm holding a chicken. I'm like, I don't know what is happening right now. And he drove it over to the animal hospital. And I just remember seeing everyone's faces. They're there with their dogs. The dogs are going crazy. Everyone's barking at this poor chicken. But this vet was so great. And he took the chicken in. He was like calming her and petting her. And he gave her some kind of a shot. Like, you would know better than me, whatever he did. And we just took this chicken home for a few weeks, rehabilitated her, and then released her. We named her Mrs. Plymouth because we found out she was a Plymouth Rock chicken. But all I'm going to say is like, that experience will never leave my heart because my dad showed compassion to an animal. And this vet was not like, what are you doing here with a chicken? You know what I mean? He was like, come on in. He treated it just like any other animal, you know, and we got it better. We doctored it up.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was.
Good memory.
I was just really annoyed that she didn't lay an egg. I was like, really, I wanted her to lay an egg so badly. I was like,
wow. I mean, I'm never like usually at a loss for words, but I think I might be on this one.
my dad was the best.
What he sounds awesome. I wish I had met him. Dr. Schmidt, I want to like say, like, with the world the way it is, where everybody's looking for employees, and you know, I keep saying, I say tongue in cheek, like the world is on strike. That's what I've been saying. And you're saying, you know, there's only 38 schools that specialize in this profession. I wonder, I would think, and you said there's only 100 classes and all this. I would think this is probably a need for people in this profession. Is that an accurate assessment? And I also think that I'll go one step further. In a world, you know, like they do that in the movies, in a world when we continue to hear about AI only every other sentence, I think that it's probably going to be difficult for AI to replace your profession going into the future. There's a lot there. So I guess parse out whatever you'd like to answer.
Okay.
My triple question.
Well, you did nail a crisis in my profession. We are 20% short of the veterinarians that we actually need. Like I'm in dire need of a veterinarian. So if there are any veterinarians out there listening that want to retire and come to Florida and work a couple of days a week, I would love to have you. If there are people who are graduating and looking for work as a veterinarian in a wonderful place like St. Augustine, please look me up. I would love to talk to you and meet with you. But yeah, there's a real veterinary shortage that has been exacerbated by the coronavirus pandemic because animal ownership went way up.
Yeah.
And the need and demand for veterinary care has gone through the roof. With regards to AI replacing veterinarians, no, but it is augmenting our profession in certain ways. AI can help you diagnose an EKG problem with a pet. Their electrocardiogram. What is this? Is this atrial fibrillation? Is this a heart block? What's going on? And then AI will also, help direct you towards medications to treat the problem. And it's also happening with helping us read blood work, helping us to look at radiographs, things like that. No, it won't replace the person behind the treatment and diagnosis, but it definitely gives us another tool to get things rolling if we can't get a specialist to help us out right away if you're a general practitioner.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
have to say this. This is what I love about Tommy D. This is one of the things that is great because, I will say I did not foresee that question coming, and I think that was a wonderful question. But I'm coming off my anecdote about this silly chicken story, and then he's like, "Bam! What about AI?" I love it. He's so versatile.
That's why we're a team, kid. That's how it works.
We are a good team.
We are a good
I
team.
have to
High
ask
five,
you.
high five.
Everybody,
All right, there we go.
I have to also ask you, Dr. Jack, because I know this is a great talking point, but we want to jump into, before we have to end, the importance of trusting your vet and using them as a resource for certain products that, otherwise maybe people might jump online and buy from Amazon or, whatever. So let's talk about that aspect for, the relationship and for the pet products.
Sure. So, I talk about me being your pet's pediatrician. When you take your child to the pediatrician, you develop a relationship, you develop a sense of trust. Otherwise, you don't keep going back, right? I mean, and you want to see the same. I mean, I want to see the same one or two doctors at the pediatrician's office when I take my son to the doctor. I don't want to see a different person every time that I go there. So I think developing that relationship, seeing that caring, that understanding, that attitude, like I said, that I treat your pet like my pet. I think all those things come together, and then making sure that your treatment goals align with one another. There's some people that, I just want the bare minimum, I don't want a lot of diagnostics, and, and there's a place for that. And there are veterinarians for that. And then other people want the Mayo Clinic, experience, or somewhere in between, but making sure, and I try to offer everything. This is the best care, but if that's not what works for you, then let's talk about the next best care. And things like that. So I think that's where that
do you find that most of the
cooperation.
time it's an affordability factor? Like, do you find that if someone, like if you have, let's say, A, B, and C treatment plans or something like that, like if people are choosing, I guess, the least expensive, right? Is it because they just feel like they don't really have it, they can't afford it? Or is it just like, oh, it's a pet, so it's a dog, right? There are some people who are like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's everything under the sun. In some cases, it's once again back to the advocacy thing that Tommy D started with at the beginning. They don't understand the value or the need, like we talked about the blood work before.
Yeah.
In some cases, it's not a dire situation, and I'm okay with, hey, Dr. Jack, I know this ear infection has been going on for a while and you want to culture it, but can't we try some medication first? And you go with your best guess on what you're looking at underneath the microscope versus sending it out to a lab and getting a culture and sensitivity.
Okay.
And then there's people who are, they grew up on a farm and the animal is just, it's more than just a you know, it's not their spouse or whatever, or their
Right.
child. So there's, you know, there's a wide spectrum, you know, of all those things that go together in there. And what was the other part of your question? Oh, it's important to buy products from your vet,
Right.
rather than ordering things off of Amazon. Okay, first of all, there is, even in human medicine, a huge counterfeit medical problem with drugs bought online.
Mhm.
And it is a huge issue where you don't know what you're getting. So that's a problem. The other thing is, if there is an issue with the medication, the veterinarian can go to the distributor and sometimes get the problem rectified for you. So those are reasons why you should purchase products from your veterinarians.
Mhm.
So when you say that, because I'm not aware of that, and it's been a long time since we've had a dog. So is there a pharmacy for animals as well? I mean, I assume there is, but are you saying like it's not like if I go get a script for something for a human versus you can fill the scripts in your office, prescriptions, that is, is that what I'm understanding, or no, you would send a patient out to a pharmacy as well?
No, I pretty much have a pharmacy in my clinic where I carry most of the drugs. So, you know, it basically saves the person a trip, you know, from, you know, they come to the vet, I can prescribe, treat, and dispense the medications there. Some people try to save money by buying like heartworm prevention or flea control products online. But the issue is there have been studies where they bought these products randomly off the internet, and what you think is medication has nothing in it. The product is totally counterfeit because all the packaging is made elsewhere, overseas, whatever. And some of these people just steal pallets of the packaging, fill it with something that looks like the medication, and there's no medicine in it whatsoever.
I'm shocked. I am shocked that anybody would do that, Valerie.
I know you're not. I always get
how could that? What, doctor? You're blowing my mind right now that anybody in a capitalist society would do something so crazy and unscrupulous. Sorry, I'm just giving Valerie the business from the conversation.
I always feel so, I hate these stories because I just feel like if these same people put their ideas to positive purposes, literally the world would be like such a better place. But
You know how many times I said that? We got to switch gears. But you know how many times I said that about that show American Greed that used to be on CNBC? And it was like, I was like, man, if this guy didn't run a Ponzi scheme, but actually just took all that brain power and ran like a legitimate business, but then another Ponzi scheme comes out. I want to know about it, right? What's that? Say it again.
I agree. Go ahead.
All right. Tail waggers. What are its tail waggers, doctor? We're running out of time, and I want to find out about that.
So real quick, if you go on my website, I'm part of the Tail Waggers Foundation. This is not just another rescue group. What we do is we find organizations like the North Florida Pointer Rescue. We help provide them with funds, good groups that are fostering animals that need help, that have real established goals for what they need. We take those donations from people and we make sure that the money is used for good care for these animals and helping them find another home. In some cases, we've helped certain animals that didn't have an owner to pay for their health care. We would pay for their health care. A wonderful veterinarian in town, Dr. Jay Ernie from the Orthopedic Associates, repaired a really nasty fracture on a dog that didn't have an owner. Tail Waggers paid for that. I kept him at the clinic and we found a home for that dog. And I've got pictures of the dog sleeping with the kids and playing basketball with the kids and having a good time. So it's a great way to be involved and to help out animals in the Northeast Florida community.
I love it. I don't want to say the name of this website because I'm not sure I have the right website that I'm looking at. Do you know the website for Tail Waggers, or should I just find them through your website?
Yeah, you can just find them through my website, or you can type in Tail Waggers Charitable Foundation.
Okay, perfect. Tail Waggers Charitable Foundation. Look, that's the thing we talk about a lot. It's that where I actually spend a lot of my time is where the nonprofit and the for-profit sector meet. And I love that, you know, you have that strategic alliance. Oh, okay, here's what it is. tailwaggersfl.com. Tail Waggers FL, as in Florida. Oh my God, you got to see this Dalmatian. I'm just going to share it with everybody really quick so you can see. Since we're in charge of the show, we can go long if we have to. Check this, Val. Let me just share this
Let me see.
page. Everybody, if you're not watching on Facebook, go to Tail Waggers FL.
Oh.
There it is.
That look, I mean, look at this guy with the blue eyes,
Yeah.
right? And look at this, that's a Dalmatian, right?
I
That's
mean,
it.
I could do this all day. Did you guys watch Puppy Bowl?
No, I was watching the Super Bowl. Sorry.
Puppy Bowl is before the Super Bowl. They're all adoptable. They're just, it's adorable. Oh my God. I
All right,
can't.
we'll have to watch that. I'll maybe, you know what? I'll watch with my kids later on. They would love that. Look, Dr. Jack, I just really appreciate you coming on the show. I feel like we're friends. You called me Tommy D, which is my name, and I appreciate you recognizing that. And that was just, I heard you do it 4 or 5 times, and that's special to me. I appreciate you. I appreciate your knowledge. When and if my family, and it's more like when we do get a DOG, all of my kids know how to read. I don't know why I'm spelling it. But when we do get one of them, I will call you. I can't bring them down there probably on a regular, but I will call you and ask you what I should do with having a dog. Wow, I'm getting emotional because probably going to do it this year. Val, you ready?
Am I ready for you to get a
No,
dog?
no, not that. I knew you were going to do that because I took my ideas and mushed them together. Dr. Jack, anything you want to leave our friends with before we head out?
Hold on.
I've had a wonderful time. Treat your pets like your kids and have a wonderful day.
Yes, and don't treat your kids like your pets. That's a whole nother thing. Don't do that. All right, or do it. Doc,
I want to say,
what do you got to say, Val?
we really miss you, Dr. Jack, and we highly recommend you. I believe I owe you actually a Yelp review. And I just thank you for having so much love and genuine compassion for the animals. And very quickly, I just wanted to mention, I'll skip the advocacy thing for now. We could do that separately, but I wanted to just mention our upcoming guest for next week is Dennis Garitano of Family Pet Shows. And they have a bunch of pet shows that are family friendly and irresistible. Go watch some dancing dogs, visit the vendors. He's coming on our show next Monday. That's about it for now.
All right. Well, I do have one last thing to leave you with. Again, thank you, sir, for being here. Thank you, Valerie, for your vision. Thank you for our listeners and those who check in. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, like, subscribe, smash that subscribe button. That's the videos my kids and I watch. They always want to smash different buttons. Always talk about that. I leave you with this. The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. Make it a great night, everybody. Talk to you soon. See you later.
Amen. Gandhi.